Hi YouTube world, I'm Sean and I'm here to tell you about my experience after going through arthroscopic surgical repair of my rotator cuff. I'm about 12 days into it and I wanted to share my experiences, give you some tips, tell you what's easy, what's hard. Hopefully you find it useful in terms of trying to decide whether you want to have the surgery or not, and if you do, how to prepare for it and how to get through it. Obviously, I'm only 12 days into it. So my knowledge is based on what I've gone through and all the research I did before I had the surgery myself. Everybody's different. Everyone has a different doctor. Everyone's doctor's regimens are different, so take it with a grain of salt. But I hope you find this useful, and if there are any questions or feedback on the video, I'll try to answer those. Try to keep this as short as possible. So just to describe what happened, and specifically it was an arthroscopic surgical repair of my supraspinatus muscle. It's one of the four muscles that comprise the rotator cuff tendon. It's right here on top of the shoulder. It's the most common type. It was a full tear, 2 millimeters of retraction, and medium-sized width of a tear based on the MRI results. It happened about almost 4 months ago. I'm embarrassed to say I fell down the stairs. I had socks on. I was going down carpet stairs. I slipped. Might have had a couple glasses of wine in me. Went all the way down the stairs and my arm jacked up behind me on that side. Of course, it was the other arm where it happened. I knew right away that something bad had happened. So I went through physical therapy on my own initiative for a few months because I always try to avoid surgery. The limited surgical experience I've had, you're never quite the same after, and I wanted to avoid it. But nothing was getting better, and I made sure I scheduled appointments with the top 2 doctors in town. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, so I got the best doctor from UVA and the best doctor from Martha Jefferson to see which one was the earliest I could get on their schedules. Booked them both, and then once I went to one, I canceled the other. So that's important to do your research on who's the best doctor in your area and how much experience they have. It's been 3 months of the physical therapy. I did the surgery 12 days ago on November 12th. It's now November 22nd. I'm here to tell you how things have been going so far. Oh, and when I went to see the first doctor, I passed all his different physical tests about exterior and interior rotation and so on. He's like, nope, you haven't torn any of your 4 rotator cuff muscles. And I had to beg him to give me the MRI. He was reluctant. He did it, confirmed the full tear, didn't go with him. I went with the better doctor that was the best recommended in town. So I hope for you, for me, the decision was really clear, right? I had a full tear. I knew it would only get worse over time. It could tear even more. I would never be able to do a push-up or a pull-up ever again the rest of my life. So it was an easy decision for me to make, even knowing what I know now about all the pain I've gone through and I'm yet to go through. I think it was worth it. If you have a partial tear, that's a different story. You talk to your doctor. I've met plenty of people that never get surgery with partial tears, and they heal up to the point that they're fine with. So hopefully, as you watch videos of other people and myself, you'll learn the cost to bear for the full surgery and help you decide. Because I'm going to have to go through 6 weeks in the sling with passive PT and then more active PT up through 6 months. Still only be probably at 60, 70, 80%, we'll see. And I may never get to 100% on my right shoulder, ever. I'm a tennis player. I don't think I'll ever get back to where I was serving right-handed, and I don't think I want to. I don't want to re-tear this, go through it again. I've actually taught myself how to play tennis left-handed in the intervening 3 months waiting for my surgery. So you'd be surprised what you can do with your offhand. So I had the surgery. Day 1, was not that bad because they give you a nerve block. You can opt for the nerve block in addition to the general anesthesia. And then basically your arm's dead weight, it's dead meat. You don't feel a thing. You can sleep 4 or 5 hours that night. You need to be careful though, because since you can't feel anything, it can slip out of your sling. You could be doing something dangerous. And the name of the game after surgery is trying to prevent a re-tear, right? Because that tendon literally has been sutured down to the humerus, to the end of your arm bone, with anchors basically metallic screws that they screw into your bones. I watched all the videos before the surgery, and now I kind of wish I hadn't, because I know exactly what they did to me, and I can visualize that when I have my pain at night. So you may not want to watch all those videos, but basically they need to get that tissue to re-adhere to the bone, and so you need to not use your affected arm and keep it in the sling. So be careful when you have the nerve block. It wears off after 36 hours. So days 2 through 4 were the hardest. That's where I had the most pain. I'll get to that in a second. And day 5 through day 12, which is today, about the same. So the easy stuff. I'll talk about the easy stuff, and I'll talk about the challenges, the biggest challenges. Easy stuff is you'll use your left hand, you'll learn how to shave, you'll learn how to brush your teeth, you'll learn how to bathe yourself. That's really not hard stuff to learn. It's easier than you think. I've taught myself ping pong left-handed. Personal hygiene, you can't floss, obviously, but you can do pretty much everything else. But it really helps if you have a partner, because you need them to cook and clean for you, you need them to drive for you. I don't know how difficult it would be just by myself. That would be a lot harder. You want to have loose clothing. You're not going to be able to tie your shoes, so you want shoes that are really tight-fitting. You can just stuff the laces into the other laces without tying them, really, which I do with my tennis shoes, or just have shoes you can pull on with no laces. Before you have the surgery, of course, the easy stuff is make sure you mow your lawn, clean your bathroom, do the stuff that needs 2 hands, get that done early and get it over with. That's the easy stuff. The hard stuff are 3 different challenges I want to talk about. Number 1, first and foremost, is lack of sleep. You can't sleep lying down. The doctor may say you can, but in my experience, I have not been able to do that. No matter how correctly I position a pillow to keep the shoulder in line so I can see it with the rest of my body, after 5-10 minutes, the pain builds. And it's a burning, tightening pain that even if you fall asleep in 10 minutes, it's going to wake you up. So you have to sleep upright. It's basically like you're on a plane 24/7, sleeping upright. And so you need to get a recliner chair like this one, which I literally moved up into my bedroom. I have another chair that this phone is sitting on top of. I can put my feet on that. And so sometimes I can get the right position, not reclining too much, but just enough so my head's not bobbing forward, and I can get some sleep, a couple hours at a time, at the most. That's all I've gotten at the most in 12 days is a couple hours at a time. And usually it's a lot less than that. Nights are kind of a torture because you have nothing else to think about except the pain and feeling the pain. During the day, you're walking around, you're distracted, you're doing stuff. It's easier during the day. But now I literally wait for the dawn to show up so I can get up, get a coffee, and get out of my little torture chamber. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this sleep issue is something I didn't really see coming, and so I want to really hammer that hard. I also emphasize that you get all kinds of pillows so that in bed, if you have a headrest, and I've tried this many nights too, you position those pillows of different sizes and suppleness such that you can either prop yourself up or try to get a semi-inclined position to try to find that elusive place where you can get a little bit of sleep. But it's tough. It's tough. Second challenge I want to talk about is having enough patience with the sling to not do anything stupid. My wife tells me I'm a hardhead. I probably am. I'm always trying to be aggressive and open a bottle of wine by propping it between my thighs, and that acts as one hand, and the other hand tries to get the cork out. Dumb stuff. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to take your arm out of your sling too much because it's a constant reminder that you shouldn't be using it because you want this to heal. You don't want to go through this again. And so it's a philosophical challenge in a way, and it gets uncomfortable. And you can take it off when you're doing your passive PT. That's what I've been doing the last 12 days. And actually, I've gone to the gym and done the recliner bike, try to get my heart rate up for 20 minutes, and I'll take the sling off because it's all sweaty for a few minutes. So you can be careful and do that, but otherwise, you don't be running around without your sling on. At least that's what everybody keeps telling me. So that's the second big challenge is resisting the temptation to take the sling off, especially when you're sleeping. You need the sling on. Third challenge is pain management. So again, that has a lot to do with the sleep and how you're trying to get sleep, but then you have the pain from sleeping in certain positions. They give you hydrocodone as your pain med. You know, that's the mix of oxycodone and Tylenol at 5 through 25. It's not strong. It doesn't cut out the pain. It takes the edge off a little bit, especially if you mix it with a little bit of alcohol, which you're not supposed to do, but you can. It doesn't stop that pain that builds up. Or the sudden acute pain sometimes you feel when you involuntarily flex that muscle area. I have a problem when I go to sleep or somehow I lose conscious control of some of the muscles in my body and I'll twitch right before I go full asleep. And sometimes I'll twitch that shoulder and then it's like, oh, you're totally awake again and you start all over. So icing is also really important. I took my wife's advice and I got this fancy NICE machine, NICE. It's a cooling system that doesn't use ice, but it flows. You can wrap it around you and it flows around and chills the area. And, you know, that's convenient because you can set the timer and have it go on and off all night. Honestly, I think the gel pack I have, this nice big sort of sports therapy gel pack, works just as good. And that's what I use for the first 3 or 4 days. Some people like to ice a lot more. My wife did because she had rotator surgery 2 years ago. And her experience was that constantly use the NICE machine for like a month. It hasn't seemed to be as much of an issue with me. And then Motrin, of course, is important. And when you're taking the codeine, you get constipated. So there's no really good pain options trying to overcome this challenge of getting enough sleep. Anyway, that's all I got. I want to keep it short and succinct. And if people have questions, I'll try to answer them. Thanks.